Good morning, it's Tuesday the 31st of August, the end of the month and sort of the end of a whole lot of restrictions. Things will be changing tomorrow. Morning, Jay.
Morning, Tim, and hello, everyone.
We've got quite a few things changing over the next few days, and we hope during the program to bring you up to date with what's going on. We've also got some updates on the news about that police officer, or the former police officer, up in Nakhon, Sawan. But let's start off with today's COVID numbers.
Sure, Tim. Today in Thailand, we had 14,666 new COVID infections, 304 from prisons, 190 COVID-related deaths, 19,245 people were released from care, and 171,368 people are still currently in care in field hospitals and hospitals. More importantly, Tim, we have 5,003 people currently still in serious care in ICUs, and 1,042 people are currently still under artificial respiration.
Okay, so the figure of new infections is trending down, but the number of deaths and people in hospitalisation still stays quite high.
Yes.
That really follows on from what was happening 2 or 3 weeks ago. So let's hope the number of infections continues to drop, and of course, just about all those numbers we want them to drop.
Sure.
Which leads us to the main talking point today, which we'll get to after we check the news and a few other things. But there are a lot of things going to change in the next couple of days as far as restrictions are concerned.
Yes, Tim.
Travel. Are your friends talking about it? People saying, oh, the sun's about to come out and the clouds are about to part and we can get on our party clothes again. Is everybody a little bit excited?
Well, I guess the news about the restrictions being changed to starting today and tomorrow is a bit more newer. But I think the whole of last week we were debating about Bangkok Sandbox and how when it's going to open, they weren't going to allow people who are not vaccinated or not with the negative test results to dine in. And that caused a lot of debate amongst the viewers, amongst us, amongst Mike, who was a guest speaker. So these restrictions have now changed, and there have been updates in the Royal Gazette now coming out and saying that you don't have to be fully vaccinated or pass a COVID-19 test to dine in at restaurants.
Well, I think that's the main one.
Yes.
So we'll get to that and a whole lot of others. And if you think that after this you're going to be really clear on everything, well, it's probably not going to happen. But let's start off, before we go to our first break, with a couple of only in Thailand.
Yes.
I don't know where you found these signs.
Do not open fire. Now, I don't know what they're referring to. Does it have anything to do with the protests? Is it barbecue? Is it just...
Is that how the Thai actually translates? Do not open fire?
Let's check with our Thai expert, Jason. Jason, what does that say?
Do not open light.
Do not open light.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't turn the light on.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it looks like it's outdoors in like a parking lot, so it could be something to do with a car, maybe. Don't high beam or something. What do you think, Tim?
I don't know. Don't have an open fire in that area.
Yeah.
Again,
well, only from 9:30 to 5 a.m. So you're
Jason
free to do
sort
it
of
after 5, but don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's translating it as don't open the light, and I'm not really sure what that means. Anyway, to the other one, and this one's a little bit more of a worry.
Oh, yes. This one here says accident ahead, and I've already translated it with my Thai expert Jason, who says that in Thai it says upatihet khang na, which literally translate to accident ahead. So it's warning you before you make your way to wherever this is that be careful, you might get into an accident.
It's a sign that's been put up by a fortune teller.
Yeah.
So they know what's going to happen. And if it's in Thailand, well, there probably will be an accident ahead. Okay, so we'll come back right after this. We'll check all today's main news around Thailand, and then we'll come back and have a talk about the opening up of Thailand starting tomorrow on Good Morning Thailand. A newly released autopsy report has confirmed that 24-year-old Jirapong Thanaphiphat, the man who died in police custody in northern Thailand's Nakhon Sawan province, died of suffocation and not of a drug overdose. The same hospital, Sawan Hospital, initially supported the police's account of the man's death that he died of a methamphetamine overdose. But with a leaked video showing his alleged torture and death and an investigation into the incident, the Sawan Hospital was ordered to hand over medical records to the authorities. The local hospital initially stated that the victim likely died because of high levels of amphetamines detected in his urine. But following the release of the video where officers can be seen placing plastic bags over the suspect's head, the hospital fell under closer scrutiny for allegedly falsifying the report to let police officers off the hook who allegedly killed Jirapong. Jirapong's body was cremated earlier this month after his death on August the 6th. The ban on public transportation out of dark red zones has been lifted following the CCSA's decision to ease the restrictions. Both the Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand and the state-run transport company announced domestic flights and interprovincial bus services will resume tomorrow. While domestic travel resumes from the high-risk provinces like Bangkok, there are some restrictions according to the CCSA. Transportation services will need to operate at 75% of their maximum capacity. Passengers are required to wear masks at all times, and the consumption of food and drinks is not allowed. Air passengers will still have to comply with various restrictions imposed by destination airports, from the use of some tracking mobile apps to full vaccination certificates and recent COVID tests. The transport company that runs the country's largest bus network will resume with 8 bus routes in the north, 10 routes to the northeast and east, and 8 routes to the south. Tourism officials say Thailand should allow Indian tourists to visit the country again, as the COVID-19 situation in India has significantly improved. There's been no commercial flights between Thailand and India since April, when Thai authorities suspended the issuance of certificates of entry, which are mandatory to enter the country, to Indian nationals due to the emergence of the highly transmissible Delta variant and a spike in infections. Last week, Thailand started allowing business travellers in India and those who have family in Thailand to submit applications for COEs. Tourism officials say the next step would be to allow Indian tourists to apply as well. In 2019, the Indian market was the 3rd largest for tourism in Thailand. 2 million Indian tourists arrived in that year. And there used to be more than 300 flights per week connecting Bangkok and Phuket with New Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad and Bangalore. Recently, many Indians have been travelling overseas to destinations that have lifted some entry restrictions like the Maldives, Dubai and the UK. The director of TAT's New Delhi office says that India has accelerated its vaccine rollout. 10% of India's 1.4 billion people have now been vaccinated. A man at a golf cart repair shop allegedly shot and killed his co-worker, who's told him to turn down the radio. The 46-year-old was listening to his radio at the shop run by the Thai police in the Phnom Penh district. Witnesses say a 37-year-old Burmese national told him to turn it down because it was loud and annoying. The Thai man allegedly grabbed a shotgun from under a lawnmower at the shop and shot his Burmese workmate. No details were reported other than he was seriously wounded by the gunshot and later died at the Phnom Penh hospital. The shooter's been arrested on murder charges. A 4-day no-confidence debate kicks off today in the Thai Parliament. At the centre, again, the Thai PM Prayut Chan-o-cha and his government, as they come under fire from a long list of allegations ranging from flawed management, botched vaccine rollouts and alleged corruption. The debate, mostly political theatre, is unlikely to eventuate in a vote that would lead to the Prime Minister having to stand down. PM Prayut and 5 of his ministers will survive the censure debate, no matter how intense the grilling is, as the opposition doesn't have enough votes, unless some of the coalition partners decide to cross the parliamentary floor. Academics see the no-confidence debate as a way of galvanising the parliamentary opposition with street protest groups who have intensified pressure for the Prime Minister's resignation. An assistant minister at the PM's office says the Prime Minister and the 5 coalition ministers were ready to address questions posed by the opposition. Well, now we're going to have a short break, but after that, Jay and I will come up with the next part of the program, having a look at the latest news and information on Good Morning Thailand.
Hello and welcome back from the break. You're watching Good Morning Thailand with me, Jay, and Tim.
Right, so let's have a talk about reopening Thailand. We've got quite a few things to go through as regards to a lot of things that affect your daily life.
Yes.
The main one I think a lot of people are interested in is that they will be able to go to restaurants in dark red zones.
That is correct, Tim. So no jabs needed for dining in.
Okay, so a lot of people were getting a little bit hot under the collar about the prospect of having to present vaccination papers so they could go inside and dine, but that's not going to happen.
Yep. And you don't need a negative COVID result as well. So I'm guessing they will operate in what they have pretty much been operating in. I think everybody does have to follow the safety measures. Everything will be clean from alcohol. Everyone's wearing a mask. Obviously not while eating, but I think that's a better way to move forward than only allow vaccinated people in.
Right, so that's the main one. Yes. So restaurants will be open until 9 or past 9, or the curfew still remains?
The curfew still remains currently. They haven't actually talked very clearly, I would say, about the timings yet. However, rest assured, we will update you. You can find the most updated information on the Thaiger.com.
All right, so as far as we understand, the curfews will stay in place in the 29 dark red zones. Yeah. What other things can I do now from tomorrow?
Well, for example, public gatherings of 25 or less people will now be allowed, but only if you have taken permission from the authorities. So if you're a company who wants to have a gathering of only 25 people, you will be allowed if you get the right permits.
So now the protesters officially will be able to have gatherings of up to 25,
That's
up from
correct.
5, but they'll have to get permission from the authorities.
Yeah. It might get lost in the mail.
Yeah.
Schools will be allowed to resume in person, and teachers will be allowed to instruct their students. However, again, they need to be following the conditions that have been presented by the Education Ministry. So schools will be and teachers will be allowed to teach again properly.
Wearing masks, there'll be divisions,
Yeah.
there'll be smaller classes.
Social distancing, the right way. From Wednesday, beauty salons and barbershops will be open. However, no walk-ins allowed. You do need an appointment.
Oh, I'll rush to my calendar and make some appointments because I need both those.
Yes. Spas and massage parlors will also be allowed to open. Again, however, they can only offer foot massages, so no full body massages. You can't catch COVID from your feet, apparently.
What about things like public parks? Can I go and walk around a park? Do we know about that one?
They have actually not written that yet. I have no information on that. However, we will try to update you throughout the day.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things and a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And as we know, the provinces can apply their own regulations. So these are sort of the latest, newest regulations, I suppose mostly affecting Bangkok.
Yes.
But the other 29 dark red zones are, of course, also affected.
Yep.
Now, the other thing that you can do now is you can travel to and from the dark red zones. This has been a big thing because especially, for example, people who arrived at the Phuket Sandbox, they said, oh, great, we can spend 14 days in Phuket, then we can fly to Bangkok and do some shopping. Well, no, you couldn't.
That's right.
Because they stopped all the buses and flights to Bangkok, Bangkok being a dark red zone. So if you want some clarity about what you're going to need if you want to travel, this is probably not going to help. However, just to give you a broad outline, for example, if you have to try and travel into Phitsanulok or Chumpon, both sort of in central Thailand and then down in southern Thailand, you have to download the tracing applications and spend 14 days in quarantine. So yes, you can travel there now, but you're going to have to do 14 days quarantine.
Wow.
Let's go to Phuket or Krabi. Phuket or Krabi are two popular holiday zones down in the south. You're going to have to download the tracking app. You're going to have to present a negative result, a PCR test, or the antigen test. The tests have to be done by a doctor, so you can't get those off the shelf, over the counter rapid antigen test and think that that's going to pass the muster. It won't. You also have to have a certificate showing that you've received 2 doses of vaccine or that you've recovered from COVID-19 in the past 90 days. So it means if you want to travel up to Bangkok and come back to Phuket or Krabi, you're going to have a stick shoved up your nose. You have to be vaccinated with both doses or that you've had COVID in the past 19 days. So it gets easier. Name a province. Name any province you want. And I'll...
Prachuap Khiri Khan.
Okay, Prachuap Khiri Khan, which is got Hua Hin. You're going to have to download the tracking app. You're going to have to present a certificate of receiving the 2 doses of vaccines, or you have to have shown that you've been infected by COVID-19. So actually, we go down this list. It gets a little bit easier until, what's another one? Like Chiang Mai. A lot of people like going to Chiang Mai. You're going to have to download a tracking app. You're going to have to present a certificate of the 2 doses of vaccines, and it says tests may be required when you arrive. So they've left the door open there.
I'll give you another one. Ubon Ratchathani.
Ubon Ratchathani. You're going to have the tracking application downloaded, present a negative result by a test and a certificate of receiving 2 doses of vaccines, and they'll only receive a PCR method test in Ubon Ratchathani. And it goes all the way down to Suratani, where all you need to do is download the tracking app.
Okay.
But who wants to go to Suratani? Oh, well, Koh Samui's in Suratani. I forgot that.
That's true.
Sorry to the people in Suratani. It's a lovely part of the world.
How dare you, Tim?
And for people in the dark red zones, Bangkok, Loi, say that.
I actually don't know that place, but
Loi.
Loi.
It's one of those ones, like Dong Muang. Naritawat and Rayong, no barriers to entry at all. Just march in, do what you like. You don't need any paperwork, no vaccines, nothing. So if you want to go to Bangkok, Loi, Naritawat or Rayong, good luck to you, because you won't need any paperwork at all.
That's right, Tim. So interprovincial travel from dark red zones will no longer be restricted. Airlines will be allowed to resume flights, but only with a maximum capacity of 75%.
Which is going to make, like, the airlines have had a rough time already.
Yeah.
Putting 75% load on a plane will probably just break even. That's not even going to allow them to make a profit.
Probably not, especially, if all those airlines start at the same time, they still have to, I guess, compete with the other airlines. I don't know how that's going to work.
They're all got to compete.
Yeah.
But there are some 4 airlines that are going to be back up in the air from tomorrow, flying in and out of Bangkok to various places around the country. Look, at least it's a start, and we have got brighter days ahead, and a lot of these restrictions will change and be lifted, I think, quite quickly, as long as the numbers keep dropping. And the government seems, their plan, their narrative now is live with COVID, let's get on with things. Whether that is right or not, that's the way that they are heading. Anyway, we're going to come back and have some more Good Morning Thailand. We're going to find out what's happening around the region, and we've also got the weather coming up as well.
Children in Indonesian capital Jakarta will today return to school after 18 months of studying from home, as the country's government begins to ease restrictions in areas of the country hard hit by COVID. Eligible non-resident foreign seafarers will have the option of receiving COVID-19 vaccinations in Singapore, starting yesterday, as Singapore was recognized as the most vaccinated country in the world. Moderna's vaccine contamination woes in Japan have widened, with another 1 million doses being temporarily suspended after foreign substances were found in more shipments and 2 people died following shots from the affected batches. Animal lovers say the recent departure of thousands of Hong Kong people seeking new lives elsewhere has led to a surge in the number of abandoned pets in the territory. The Burmese junta has backtracked on its plans to withhold COVID-19 vaccinations from the Rohingya minority in Rakhine State, following an outcry from rights groups.
Coming to the end of the program, we've got the weather coming up. Speaking of the weather, it rained quite a lot in Phuket last night. In fact, it's sort of been quite wet around a lot of the country. Where's this video from?
So this video, I believe it's from Bangkok, and as you can see, Bangkok has some new unwanted fountains.
I thought they were actual fountains, and it was funny video because the fountains were on in the middle of a rainstorm, but these fountains are being caused by the amount of stormwater.
Well, because this is Thailand and nothing seems to surprise you, I'm not surprised that you actually thought that that was meant to be there, but no, I'm guessing this is from the drainage system and it's just been overflowed with the excessive rain.
I'd be putting a fence up and charging people to look at it.
I know.
So when it rains in Thailand, a lot of times it really pours.
Oh, yes.
And so the municipalities, they spend a lot of time to try and put in better drains. And they're already putting those drains in and allowing for those like twice a year really big rainstorms. So sometimes, like Pattaya last week, I mean, wow, they really had some bad flooding.
Yep.
But it is quite local because the rain in the tropical rain can be very, very local. So even on an island like Phuket, it can be absolute torrential rain at one end and sunny and you're lying on the beach at the other. So the rain here can be very local. You've lived in other parts of the world?
Yeah, well, for example, I've lived in Qatar for a couple of years, and it, since it's basically part of a desert, whenever it rained, that it used to cause a lot of problem, especially for the airport, because I'm guessing when they did build the airport, they didn't pay much attention to the drainage system. So when it did rarely rain, sometimes the terminal would be shut all night. And since Doha is a hub for traveling travelers, it would cause massive disruption to a lot of people, because I guess why would you care about a drainage system in a desert?
Speaking of the desert, I was organising an event at Uluru, which used to be called Ayers Rock. It's that great big rock in the middle of the desert, right in the middle of Australia. And let me tell you, when you're right in the middle of Australia and you look in any direction, there's nothing to see. Anyway, we had this, it was dinner where you look at the sunset on the rock. And it only rains one day a year in that part of the world, on average. So very rare for rain up around the centre of Australia. Of course, it was the night of our event, watching the sunset. So rather than cancel it, we actually invited people to come out because even though the dinner was ruined, we had to go back to the hotel, we got to see waterfalls off Uluru, off the rock, which is a very, very rare sight. So we turned lemons into lemonade.
Just did a rain dance around the water.
So, okay, that's the rain. That's our show. So I hope it's not raining in your part of the world. Hope some sunshine comes out. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Tim.
And thank you very much to Jason, pressing the buttons over there. And thank you for watching. And, of course, we've got our comments coming up from all our various platforms on the Thaiger with Thaiger Bites, and that's coming up a little bit later. But for now, thanks for watching. Not a particularly interesting day in Bangkok today. Light winds, overcast, and it looks like we've got moderate air quality with some worse air quality heading to the capital tomorrow. Temperatures between 30 and 31 over the next 3 days, down to the Sandbox, and we've got a temperature of 27 today. A lot of rain overnight, 28 over the next couple of days, and there will be a bit of rain in the forecast. Temperatures down to 24 at night, and we've got moderate air conditions down there. Same up in the northeast of Thailand, the same sort of moderate quality air. Temperatures around 30 up to 31 on Thursday, but we've got light winds there and the chance of some rain as well. Up to the north of Thailand, and good air quality today, and temperatures of 32 down to 30 by Thursday, and quite low at night. Well, low for Thailand, down to 22. To the central Gulf Coast, and clear air abounds with a possibility of some rain and some cloud there as well. Temperatures of 28 and 29 down to 25 at night. And to Chonburi, where we've got Pattaya, we've got temperatures of 28 and 29. Mild conditions, plenty of sunshine, but a bit of rain and some cloud as well, and clear air. Good news.